Hey, what's going on, folks? This is one of my favorite places. It's a park in the complex where I live. It's pretty dope. Um, Anyways, the waterfall in the back. You know what I mean? Serene. When you need a moment of zen, it's right here. Speaking of zen, a lot of people are leaving the teaching profession. A lot of shortages. It's hard to find substitute teachers. It's hard to find adjunct professors. It's hard to find full-time professors and teachers. And my background, a lot of people know me as a rapper. I go by Pro, short for Professor Lyrical. And the professor part is, of course, because I'm an educator. So I want to give you a little bit of my story and get into a little bit about adjuncts and substitutes and sort of my pitch for a better name. So I started in education like 20 years ago as a substitute. Wasn't sure if I really wanted to get into it. Decided to take the plunge. Loved it. I was like, yes, this is going to be what I want to do. I do want to get into education wholeheartedly. At the time, I only had a bachelor's degree in business. It was my concentrations were marketing and economics, and they were like, hey, there's openings. We need people. We need math as well, and math was something I was pretty good at. And so I was like, you know what? I can see myself doing this. So I substituted. No qualifications, no teaching experience. I was simultaneously also, just to try to build experience, got myself a position at Huntington Learning Center with the ability to tutor math, and little by little even the reading and writing. Say all this because I really had no experience, and if I wasn't lucky enough to get those part-time gigs, I probably wouldn't have been able to have any experience. But because I was a rapper in the local city and people knew who I was, they were like, he'll probably reach the youth and be a way to get in touch with the kids that we're trying to reach, right? And so that's still kind of what I do. That's kind of been my niche, is just trying to build cultures through hip-hop culture that are relatable. But when I started as a substitute, you never knew where you were going to be each day. You never knew if you were going to get a call. And it's tricky to really depend on people for $100 and change or whatever it is, depending on the school system. I mean, it doesn't sound awful if it's like $140 or something. You multiply it by 5, you're looking at $700 a week, but you can't really depend on anything, and there's no benefits. So it's not exactly killing it, but it's reasonable, and it's a good way for people to get experience. My problem with the name is this: substitute. We know there's all kinds of problems, whether you're in the classroom and the way the students are perceiving you, and full-time instructors leaving their lessons. Sometimes they get covered, other times they don't. Really, there's no bridge. I never met the teachers. I always thought it was weird. It was like, substitute? I don't really even know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know who this person is. Like, how can I substitute for someone I don't know who they are? The students know, and you're the only one out the loop, really. I mean, and the teachers out the loop doesn't know what happened either. So I just think like it's time to redo it. And I've been having some discussions about this idea that it just kind of popped to me. Because in my current role, where I direct faculty development, I'm always trying to think about how to reach adjunct faculty and how to reach full-time faculty and still make it equitable for both. And, I got into higher ed the same way. I was an adjunct first. I've adjuncted like 10, 11 colleges and universities, and I've only been full-time at 2. I've been 5 years now. It'll have been at the University of District of Columbia. Started in just about this same time, almost about another month ago. Or half a month, whatever it is, in 2017. Now it's 2022, and I was at Northeastern for 7 years as well. And I always thought it was weird too. I still do. The divide between adjunct and full-time, and it's so hard to get people. And I don't think we do ourselves any favors with some of these labels we use. Higher ed is notoriously bad with that. When you're not tenure track, they got all kinds of names for anything but professor, which they reserve, a full professor, which they reserve for people who are tenure and have that full rank. And very, very few people are full professors. Some are associate professors. I'm actually an associate professor. That's higher after assistant when you usually come in. And then there's teaching professor, there's instructor, there's lecturer, there's senior academic specialist. There's all these labels. Preceptor, Harvard uses. I had 3 of my courses for math there that I transferred from my math master's back to Lowell, and I was like, what's a preceptor? Had to look that word up. Look that one up, I encourage you. It's an interesting word with some really old school connections. It goes back to the church as well, and about learning, really. So anyways, here's the deal. If we want to have more substitutes, let's first of all not call them substitutes. Let's actually train them so that it is a pathway for somebody to get hired as a teacher, so that the faculty feel more confident handing off their assignments to somebody else that they actually have met. Why don't we do this, right? Why don't we train the substitutes at least 2 to 4 times a year, right? Bring them in on day one. I would propose we bring them in on day one and they actually meet the people in their subject area that they would most likely be teaching for, and that you work with them and that they see part of the action. The other benefit of doing this is that you could actually hire them to come in even when you don't need a substitute. In other words, bring them in the classroom with you to see how you get down and how you do what you do. And the students will see that you are much closer to an equal as a substitute, who is not called the substitute any longer, about a co-instructor, right? Or an academic specialist or something. I think co-instructor is really good because it pushes this team narrative. So we do it as a team, we learn as a team, they come in, a couple times they do training on their own with somebody like me who does PD, right? In teaching and math methods or whatever methods it is, right? Best practices in teaching and learning, the scholarship of teaching and learning. I've been fortunate enough to do that in my own institution as a facilitator multiple times for an AQ program. AQ stands for the Association of College and University Educators, and they have 25 modules on best practices that we should be thinking about. So it's not hard to get some of the basics out there, which is a lot more than I and a lot of other people have ever gotten. We're thrown to the fire as it is, right? So bring them in the first day, pair up with people. I would even say don't even have class on the first day. This is so important. Or have something for the students too and get to meet some of them and whatever. So there's just a different prestige level for those folks coming in, and a different dignity and a different respect level from both the students, the faculty, and the staff, actually all together, and even the families. What a win it would be for your school district if you say you no longer have substitutes, you have co-instructors. That already sounds better, right? Well, what does that mean? We're going to train them. We're going to work with them. Maybe once a week, we could actually solve the problem that there's never time to do anything in K-12 with our actual faculty and staff. Well, here would be a way, right? You have a substitute in there, you pair them up right off the rip with one of the faculty members, like one of the first days you can, right? After you do this first training, to see, kind of observe, maybe help out a little bit. That's what I did with my teaching assistants. I always put them right on the spot. I didn't just let them sit there and like grade papers. They were up on the board doing stuff and helping around in the class, right? Got to empower them so the students see them as experts. So first day, first week, whatever, you have them doing some work in the class, hanging out, right? And then you actually let the faculty take a day off. You take a day off for PD, and that co-instructor comes in and then runs your class, right, early on. And the lesson's there, they know what to do, they've met you, they talk with you. There's more accountability all around and more respect and more training. And it builds rapport and teamwork, and I think it would be a natural replacement, right, when faculty do leave. How nice would that be? So there's so many wins for it. And then we could actually be having some mutual time to train some of our actual faculty who've been there for a while, who don't really get the PD and training they may need, whether it's in learning communities or whether it's with supervisors who sometimes are in those learning communities or whatever. And then it gives us some of that time that we need. I can imagine a substitute in a perfect world. I can imagine them coming in, no longer even being long-term or short-term, guaranteeing them up front. You got 2 days. You can have a minimum of 2 days every week while you're here. So you can just do the math and you can figure out that you're going to be here for a lot of days, right? No matter what, if you have that flexibility. Would you rather sign up as a substitute, or would you rather sign up as a co-instructor who's guaranteed X amount of days, whatever the budget may have, right? And then on days that there's nothing in your area, you're doing training yourself, or you're shadowing another one of the faculty in that area. That's my idea. It's kind of stems from some of the stuff that I do in higher ed and thinking the transferability over to K-12. I think CTE, Career Technical and Education, could be some of the funding sources for this if it was broken up by CTE courses as well. Perhaps could be grant funded. A lot of different things that come out of the general pool that money's come out of for substitute teachers. And you can be a hero administrator at your institution as well, or at least try it. Piloting a program is a great way to start. And I think it could have wonderful results, and I'd love to see what the data shows. Thanks. I'm Professor Lyrical.